Mother?
You know you're not supposed to be here.
I know, but something attacked Leon in the forest.
My dear, I really wish I had the time to listen to your adventures, but...
But it's true! Leon was lying there on the ground, and then he was...
Shh! You are to stay here with your brother.
What? Why? What's
Close
happening?
the door behind me and do not open the shutters, whatever happens.
But... Hugo...
He is not contagious. I realize you hardly know him, but he will be all right. Trust me, Amicia.
Yes, Mother.
I don't know if we're gonna call this irony or just the timing was just a coincidence, but I recently tested positive for that thing that's been going around on Earth, and if I mention what it is, I may get a strike on my channel from YouTube. But it is weird timing that I decided to try the first A Plague Tale, which was called Innocence, I believe, A Plague Tale Innocence, and I decided to try it because I did see that the second one was releasing, and I think as of today of recording this video, it released. And if you can't tell by my voice, yes, I'm still sick from that thing that I tested positive for, but I wanted to try this game out, and I did complete it within 2 sittings. Try to complete it in 1 sitting. It's not the longest game, but it's not the shortest game either. I think it's about 17 chapters or so, and I want to keep this video as short as I can because this game has been out for a couple years now, and I think it was on previous gen consoles, so you probably know about this game already and played it already. I knew briefly about it, and I never played it till now. And the first impressions I got was, wow, this is pretty amazing. Not just graphically, because graphically the game still could use some work here and there. You know, most of the environments look really amazing. The scenery and the locations and the buildings, it did give me some Witcher 3 vibes, but also some Shakespeare vibes. You may not notice about me, but in college I did take Shakespeare pretty briefly because of my major, and I kind of have a good idea of what they were going for here, and it just works. It just works great with the environment. Now, being from New York City originally, I thought I wouldn't be able to play this game because being from New York, we don't mess with rats. We just don't. That's just, no, we don't do that. And this game has a lot of them, if you didn't know. And while this game does have some amazing visuals and interesting gameplay mechanics, it does reach a point where the game gets a bit unrealistic, like kind of like how some Resident Evil games go towards the end. It just becomes completely bizarre. So I won't say too much about that, but also the game does have some pretty gross things about it. Like, who came up with the idea of a game like this with all these rats and everything that exists in the game? I may or may not show any clips of the rats in this video here, but I do want to focus on the positives of this game, and one of the positives is really just the lighting and the scenery, and some of the graphics just looks pretty amazing. Now, in some of the cutscenes, some characters do look a little bit silly with the way they talk and the lip syncing, but that could just, I mean, it's kind of weird that that's how it was towards the end of last generation consoles, but I do believe that it wasn't a big deal for me because the gameplay was really the most important part of the game for me. Now, this game is primarily a stealth kind of game. I'm not too fond of stealth-based video games. It is something that I'm not terrible at, but I like to see a game with more action, and there is a decent amount of action in this game, but there is a heavy emphasis on stealth, and it is primarily a one-hit kill video game. You know, if you get caught once or you get hit once, you're dead. You do have an option to try to survive one hit based on your situation, and that may or may not come in handy. But I did hear the second one is going to have a bit more action, a bit more tools to your arsenal, so that's pretty great, and I can't wait to try that out myself. But with this game, I was also surprised to find out that you do occasionally, not often, but sometimes will get a different character to control. So that was pretty interesting to see as well, just being able to do something a bit different here and there. I don't remember how many times it happened. I think it happened like twice or 3 times or something like that. But other than that, I don't really know what else I want to say about this game, you know, to help keep this video shorter. But ultimately, what I want to talk about in terms of why you may want to try this game if you haven't is the story itself. Like, I was very intrigued in the story, even though it got to a point where it was a bit extra. The story for the most part was very interesting. You have this character Amicia and her brother Hugo, and he has this sickness, and their town or village gets attacked by some soldiers. I think they were the I want to say like the English or whatever I believe they call them. I can't remember exactly. But they do get attacked, and it's because of Hugo. They're looking for Hugo because of something that he's infected with, and that's all I'm pretty much going to say about the plot for the game. But it did really well in terms of making you believe that you're being hunted by these men, and you do have that sense of fear because, like I said, one hit and you die. And if you get spotted, you can easily be taken out from being spotted. So you have to find the best method to get around. What are you gonna, what kind of tools you're gonna use? Are you gonna use something to take out an enemy, or just to distract them so you can get by them? So kind of interesting in the sense of, like, playing a Batman game, you gotta find the right arsenal or the right tool to help escape. But different in the fact that you don't really have a combat system here, so you're not really able to fight head on successfully. You do have an option to somewhat fight head on, but it may not work out in your favor. Going on from there, the game doesn't really have a HUD necessarily. You don't have a health bar, you don't have a mini map or anything like that, and you don't need it. That was also something cool about this game. You don't necessarily need it. So without any kind of distractions on your screen, it does help you feel really immersed in what you're doing. And there are some games where you can eliminate the HUD and help you feel immersed, but those games you kind of need those things. Like in Red Dead Redemption 2, you kind of need a mini map. You don't want to use the stupid companion app to try to get by with the game. You need to see your health bar and your stamina, but for a game like this, you don't need it. They don't have it, and that's pretty cool. Now, it is a mostly linear experience. There is not much open freely, and there are some collectibles that you can find in the game. There's a codex you can fill out, and of course the achievements you can unlock by finding different things. But nothing that really stood out to me as like, I gotta find all these collectibles to unlock this or unlock that, and that's okay. Games nowadays don't really have these kind of unlockables that you can get from completing certain things, but there were certain items you can find that may have some information on them individually. One thing that was cool was Hugo knows about different flowers, and so you can find flowers in the ground, and Hugo will put one in Amicia's hair, and so that was a pretty cool feature. The game does have a photo mode. If you don't know about me, I love photo modes in video games if they're done correctly. This game had a pretty basic photo mode, nothing too extra. I still think the Spider-Man games have the best photo mode of any video game I've played, next to Horizon Zero Dawn, maybe God of War, and that's pretty much the ones I can think of that have the best photo modes. I know Resident Evil Village has one of the worst photo modes I've ever seen, along with Far Cry 6, but this game had a really basic photo mode, not many options that you have at your disposal, but some pretty nice visuals in the game itself does help you get a more natural, beautiful look with the photo mode, and that's something I really do appreciate. Now, the game does have some pretty gross moments, as I mentioned before, both in terms of like graphically gory type of things, but also more with the rats kind of thing. And there are some funny moments in the game of like things you can do, like depending on how your sense of humor is. Like if you have a twisted sense of humor, like sending some rats to kill a guy is always going to be funny to me no matter what.
wasn't dangerous. It's safer this way.
Now, throughout the game, in various times, they will give you an extra character to join your team, and they can help you in various ways. Like, there are some puzzles in the game that you have to solve. Nothing too complicated or too ridiculous, but you will need to try to use your brain a little bit just to get past some of these puzzles. Sometimes it's holding a lever, sometimes it's having someone wait behind while you go do something. Now, with having your teammates wait behind, there is a bit of a mechanic here, primarily with Hugo. If you leave Hugo behind for too long, or if you stray too far away from him, he will start to panic, and that can cause some more trouble for you. As you can see, Hugo was holding Amicia's hand, and he will do that primarily throughout the whole game while they're together, unless you're doing a different action, and that is to help keep him calm and not freak out. Aside from that, there are some moments in the game that can be a bit frustrating. I got to a point where I was constantly losing due to a little technicality of just being like one frame to the right or the left, and that just kind of, screwed me over. But aside from that, the game was mostly solid, had really great performance, even though I started the game as cloud gaming and then I downloaded it to my system. Playing in cloud did have a couple of issues when using the camera, but I only played that mode for about 10 or 15 minutes before I downloaded the game, and it's a pretty fair download size of like 40 gigs roughly, but it's worth the gigabyte space for how the game looks and performs, especially when you have to account for all the moving parts in the game. Like in this scene here, all these rats surrounding the area. No frame rate issues, no terrors or anything like that, and that was pretty impressive for a game that came out a couple years ago, and technically I guess now is a next gen game with the upgrade. So that was pretty impressive to see how the performance was mostly just smooth as hell. I can't tell you whether it's 30 frames or 60 frames because I'm not smart enough to know that. So just keep in mind that the game will perform very well, and if you're not easily disgusted by rats and certain gory scenes, like I'm not disgusted by gory scenes too much. I play a lot of Mortal Kombat, so I'm kind of used to that kind of thing. It was the rats that was kind of like ugh for me, but you're gonna have a good time with the game. You're gonna love the story, and I can't wait to try the second one. But this game was definitely impressive with some of the mechanics and the lighting and the graphics, and like I said, the story and the scenery. Like the scenery is the real hero here, because some of the locations, whether it's a location that is fully intact or a location that's been destroyed by the plague, it just looks beautiful throughout the whole thing. And I think the second one, from what I saw in the trailer, looks even more beautiful.
My name is Clairvy.
I'm Amicia, and this is Hugo. Say thank you, Hugo.
Thank you.
Clovey, what is happening here?
The plague. So many people dead. And those still alive have... But where are your parents?
At home. They're waiting for us.
Can't really say much else about the game. Go try it for yourself. It was hard for me to keep track of some of the characters in the game. I didn't play with headphones, primarily because of my sickness. I didn't want to contaminate my headphones and stuff like that. But I had a hard time following the names of all the characters. I only remember Hugo and Amicia because they're the two that you primarily play as. But to me, that's not really important for this game. It might be to you, so that's a me problem, not a game problem. And there are some sad moments in the game as well that you do experience, so do keep in mind when you're playing this game to get your tissues ready. But that's my review for the game. I say go check it out. If you have Game Pass, it's on Game Pass, so you're not paying any money. And the sequel is also on Game Pass, so that's when I'm going to start that one, probably tomorrow. And I don't know if it's on the PlayStation Collection thingy that they're doing, the PlayStation Plus subscription thing, but I can imagine this game is fairly cheap in price right now. But yeah, like I said, it's a must play. Go play it, give it a try. You'll get like a fun weekend out of it because it's not that long of a game to where you're gonna spend hours and hours and hours. You can beat it within a week, and I beat it in 2 days. So, like I said, that's my video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Right, got the tools. I just need the leather.
Oh, and one last thing before I forget. Her hair. I have yet to see a video game where the hair, for the most part, does not go through the character's clothing. And this game keeps it almost perfect throughout the whole game. Whether you have, it doesn't matter what outfit she's wearing throughout the game. For the most part, her hair will not go through her outfit. And that's pretty impressive as game design goes, because I've seen some pretty beautiful games where the hair design, the hair mechanics are still fucked up. So props to this team for having someone, or whatever team they had, do an amazing job on the character's hair. Like, holy shit.